Today I'm going to do a video on the positives of millennials. I know they often get a bad rap and people have a lot of negative things to say about them, so I'm just going to name off a few positives. You can still think they're negative, that's fine, but I'm always rooting for the underdog, and I always want people to know that there's good things about everyone, including millennials. So I looked it up, and basically the years that you had to be born were varied. It was either 1981 to 1986 or 1981 to 2001. And there are a couple odd places that said 1980, but basically I'll stick with the starting point being 1981. So a lot of things that they also talked about were in the workplace. One of the things that I found very interesting was I was watching a TED Talk by Brian Halligan, and he was talking about how millennials will work whenever, wherever, and this was not something that was common of the generation before them or their parents, grandparents, etc., etc. I think this is actually a positive thing because, especially when I live in a place like Fort McMurray, it's 24/7. If these people weren't willing to work whenever, the businesses they work for couldn't function. So businesses have these expectations that they should be running 24/7, but if you didn't have people that wanted to work them, it just wouldn't work. So that is a positive. Another positive that I saw was that they would do internships for free. This wasn't something that was known for maybe the generation before them, but they realize that they're trying to work to climb the corporate ladder, and this is something they have to do. It's also been said that millennials are the most educated generation in history, which is good in the way that the world is moving, because education, there's never too much thing as too much education. Another thing that people complain about, this will move to the positive, that they complain about is that millennials like to live in their parents' house. Well, this is because they can't afford to pay for the rising costs of living. They live with their parents longer because they're trying to save up money. Usually they will settle for something below their pay grade just to make ends meet. Whereas their parents, that wasn't really a problem. They could raise a family, they could buy a house on the wage that they wanted. People often complain about millennials being so connected to technology, but honestly, there's nothing wrong with that, because if you look at the way that the world is moving, it's moving in the way of technology. If they weren't for it or so connected to it, the world would crash and burn. Someone has to know how to do it. Like, I probably know how to use something better than my grandparents would, or, sorry, mom, my mom would. But in the way the world is moving, this is not a negative thing. This is a positive thing, because this is how the world is going to work. Another thing, too, they complain about them being so connected to technology and social media. Social media is a way they use to make people more aware. So when issues happen around the world, people didn't always know what was going on. Having social media helps people know things that are going on that are wrong. For example, #MeToo, or for instance, when people are getting bullied. This isn't as accepted anymore, thanks to the movements that the millennials are making. People are trying to stop this, so you can thank them for that. Another thing too is I did go to Inc.com. This is probably my favorite statistic, and we'll end on this. They said they did a study, and 84% of the individuals said that they would prefer to make a difference in the world versus getting professional recognition at work. And I think that's really important, because this means that even though people think they're selfish, this means that they would rather do something to change the world versus being recognized. That to me does not mean that they're selfish. That means that they would rather help others than have their own personal recognition. And I know that people complain because millennials like to be appreciated. See my last video. But I don't think there's anything wrong with being appreciated. Being told you're doing a good job, there's nothing wrong with that. That to me is a positive. I have no research to back this up. It's just my personal opinion. Take it or leave it. I think it's a great way. Everyone feels good when they're appreciated. So I hope everybody has a good day. Thank you for watching, and enjoy the evening.